Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Military Mondays. If you and I don't know each other, I would love to get to know you. I am retired Major Brenda Sanchez. I served 27 years in the Air Force, and now my husband and I serve the business community, helping them to acquire and retain customers. And today we're going to talk about donors. And I love bringing you these Military Mondays every single Monday morning. And I love featuring veteran or military or spouses of military business owners so that we can get the word out about your business. But without further ado, I have an amazing woman on today. I met her about a month ago. I'm out networking, and if you've been watching my Military Mondays, you find a theme here. It's about networking. And Tihara and I met, like I said, about a month ago, and I learned that she's the executive director of a nonprofit called Beyond Valor. And I knew a little bit about that prior to meeting her, but I wanted her to come on today to share a little bit about that and how they are helping. So thank you for being on this morning. Welcome to the show, Tihara.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start first with you. Not only are the spouse right now of a currently serving active duty, but you also were a staff sergeant in the Army. So what did you do in the Army?
I joined a reserve unit in Lynchburg, Virginia. It was a drill sergeant unit. So once upon a time, I was a drill sergeant in the Army Reserves.
Awesome. And what did you do as a reservist? There are so many different aspects of reserves. Those that have been watching my shows know that I served active duty a lot of my reserves. So were you in a traditional reserve unit, or were you in a different type of a reserve unit?
It was my only reserve experience. I'm not really sure how it compares. Just everyone in the unit was a drill sergeant. So we all had maybe different MOSs, but we had the X identifier. And during the summer months, when basic training gets inundated with recruits, the Army activates reserve drill sergeants to create entire companies or to augment and support active duty drill sergeants. And our unit had the assignment, it was the 2nd and 317th in Lynchburg, Virginia. And we served at Fort Jackson, South Carolina as drill sergeants during our annual training.
Awesome. Cool. It's always fun to learn about all different aspects of the reserves and active duty, because no matter how many interviews I do, I learn new stuff. It's like, wow, I didn't know that when I was in the service. So thank you for your service, not only in uniform, but for being the spouse of a military member, because I have always said the spouses truly do serve, because if it wasn't for them at home holding down the household and helping with the moves and everything and the kids, the military member would not be successful and not would be able to make a career of it. So thank you for that too. So your husband is currently serving.
Yes.
Which branch of the service is he in?
So my husband is Army, and we're stationed at Fort Carson.
Awesome. Sweet. And so, you have a passion for service, and that's what led you to Beyond Valor in the organization, the nonprofit. So tell us a little bit about Beyond Valor, where it started and where the mission has gone to today, because maybe some people have heard that name, that nonprofit, and then they're going to hear what you tell them today that they're doing, and they're like, wait a minute, that's not what I thought Beyond Valor was. So give us a little history lesson of Beyond Valor.
So Beyond Valor was first called Valor Box. It was started by Becky LaShook, who's also active duty spouse, and we're friends. And it was originally designed to be fundraisers for high quality care packages for deployed special forces. Our spouses are special forces. We wanted to get them quality care packages with healthy foods for the multiple deployments. And last year, after we knew that things in Afghanistan would be changing, the organization decided, we're going to have a new mission. We can either close the doors or decide to go a different direction. And last summer, all the board members took some time to really think about it and research, and they discovered they just all had a shared passion around human trafficking. and wanted to see how they could use their gifts and abilities to make an impact in that area here in the United States specifically, and also targeting children and adolescents who are either trafficked or at risk of trafficking. And so Beyond Valor was born from that. And we started with just doing some mapping of resources, finding out who's doing what in the community and how can we fill in the gap in order to inform our strategies. So that's where we're at now. We've decided on a strategy for how we can dismantle the human trafficking industry. We're looking at it through a business model. Most of our board members are business women, and they understand supply and demand. And so we have taken apart human trafficking. We've done research looking at the demand for trafficking and how that drives this evil. We're looking at the supplier, which is the pimp, and the supply, which are children and people. And how do we intervene in each one of these to hopefully begin to dismantle human trafficking here in the United States?
Awesome. And then you have partnered with federal organizations too, which I think is amazing. You're only been doing this mission for about a year, but you have made some great partnerships. That's the word I'm trying. I was like, what word is it? Partnerships with other organizations, because I love that you haven't come in and said, nobody else is doing a great job, so we're going to take it over and we're going to do it. Like, nothing wrong with nonprofits that do that, but I love nonprofits that work with other organizations that are where you come together as a community to solve the problem instead of an individual organization.
So true. One of my favorite quotes is, for every complicated problem, there is a simple solution, and it's always wrong. And I think it's just true. I think when you've got a complex problem, it requires complex solutions. It requires collaboration. And we have to really be self-aware of, that kind of hero mindset, the savior mindset. None of us are, but we can work together as a community because we each have something to bring. And so we made the assumption there were people already doing things about it. And when we decided on wanting to work with children, especially, we knew that this population is protected by our government. We're very fortunate in our country that we have many federal and state organizations that are involved in protecting children and in helping children who are troubled. Organizations like the Department of Social Services, the Center for Youth Detention Centers, we've got juvenile courts, probation, all these agencies that really are the ones that are the ones to experience these children that are troubled. We came across some statistics from the Department of Justice that around 300,000 children are trafficked a year in the United States, U.S. citizen children. And of those, 60% were in foster care. And what typically happens is there was some type of trauma, they're pulled from their home, they're in foster care. And the type of way trafficking happens here in the US, it's not like that movie Taken with Liam Neeson. It's a much more twisted form of emotional manipulation, and it's called Romeo pimping. And these pimps send out Romeos to romance young girls, 14, 15 years old. That's the average age of a prostitute is 15 here in the United States. And for boys, 1 in 6 are under the age of 12. And it's usually a young 20-something-year-old adult who finds a troubled child, claims to care for them, love them, begin a romantic relationship with them, and then get introduced into drugs, and then have them join their group of children that they prostitute. And that's how that happens here in the US. So it's a very complex situation. It's why the police have a hard time getting pimps, because these children and adolescents have a trauma bond with their pimp. So it's very difficult for them to get them to prosecute and testify against their pimp. So what we've decided to do is, we know that if we're going to be effective, we need the nonprofit sector to partner with the government sector. We need to partner with our police department, partner with the FBI, with the Department of Social Services, and all these agencies. And we were extremely fortunate to meet Sherry Lynn Boyles, who's the executive director of Joint Initiatives. And Joint Initiatives is a nonprofit umbrella for all these government entities. They have Head Start, they have the Center for Youth Detention Centers that has detention centers, the probation courts, youth courts. They have a partnership with CSPD, Colorado Springs Police Department, Sheriff's Office, and all of these agencies come together and they collaborate because they know they're seeing the same clients. But as you're aware with government, they have a very specific mission. They can't really move up beyond their mission. This is what they exist to do. So they rely heavily on referrals. And what ends up happening is sometimes those kids get dropped in the referral process because these buildings are in different places, appointment times. So when we met with them, they're aware of just kind of the nature of the way it works in the US with the government funding being very specific. You know, each year you have a budget based on what you did last year. And it can be challenging to kind of get around the problems of referrals. So when we met with them, we learned about something called a juvenile assessment center. And there are other cities that have recognized a solution to this problem is to bring these government agencies under one building and have one assessment for every single family. So instead of saying, oh, look, this child came because there was a neglect issue with the parent, but they also, in acting out, committed a crime. Now we got to refer them to probation. Oh, they need behavioral health, they need therapy. That's another agency. We bring them into one place. There's one assessment. And now you just go down the hall. You go down the hall, you go down the hall. But the challenge is government doesn't provide money for that building. They can't get the funding. So it's up to the community to raise the money for that. And we as Beyond Valor are very excited to address the supply piece of that supply and demand model. We've pulled that out and we said the way we can help children is to begin to identify the kids who are being trafficked because we're not seeing them. And we build this juvenile assessment center. The one in Denver, it's the 18th Jack. You're welcome to look at their website. Since they've been built 4 years ago, they identify 150 children a year who are being trafficked.
Wow.
And last year, they were part of a very exciting sentence, the second longest sentence ever issued in the history of Colorado, a 300-year sentence against a trafficker. And that child was found by the Jack because a police officer pulled over a gentleman who was suspected of counterfeiting. When they pulled him over, there was a juvenile in the back of his car who was not related to him. Because the Jack exists, the police officer is able to take the juvenile and take him to the Jack, and the Jack will do the assessment and find the parent. He's able to go back on the street and continue his work. In the past, the police officer has to sit there with the juvenile until they can find a parent. And sometimes, unfortunately, kids are trafficked by their own family members. So what this does is it allows the police officer to find a safe place for them where there's social workers and clinicians and all those services. When they did the assessment on the child, they assessed for trafficking. And she came up as showing she was high risk. Upon more interviewing, she revealed she was being trafficked at gunpoint in a hotel in Denver. Wow. And there were more children there. And here's the wonderful thing. CSP, their police department, Arapahoe, is in the same building. So they were able to dispatch police to the hotel. They found the children. They arrested 5 men. They were sentenced last October to around 300 years in prison. Wow. And that's the potential for bringing these agencies together in one building, and why we at Beyond Valor, we're like, we want to partner with joint initiatives with Sherry Lynn Boyles. And if they can't get that building, what would it look like for us as a nonprofit to raise the money for this building and have it serve El Paso County and Teller County? Those are the 2 counties that it would serve. And effectively also create more collaborations with nonprofits, because there's a lot of nonprofits serving kids in all kinds of ways. So we're just very excited about this dream and this potential. We have now an MOU with joint initiatives, and we're officially partnering to hopefully raise the money for a beautiful building for these kids.
No, I'm not going to say hopefully. You are.
Yes, confidence.
I was going to say, because when we say hopefully, there's doubt in there. There's no doubt.
No doubt.
Beyond Valor is going to succeed in this mission. So how can people help you to accomplish this huge goal?
Well, we have a website that it's currently under construction, but we are looking to find people to help us raise these funds. And we're working on developing a video to kind of explain it, because again, it's a complex issue. You're talking about multiple government agencies. We want to be able to demonstrate through a real story, and also just beautiful imagery and marketing to explain what happens to a child here in Colorado Springs or in Teller County when they hit the system. We have a contract now we're working through, and we'll hopefully have that video out in a month. But what we're looking for is people who aren't afraid to maybe have a dinner with their friends, show this video, and ask if they would join us in donating to this building and spreading the word, because we know that there are a lot of people in this community who care about kids, who want to find these children. They want to see these traffickers brought to justice. They want safer communities for their kids. And it's just a matter of time before we meet them. We want to raise up an army of community members who are willing to make a difference for these kids.
Awesome. So I also hear you do have the video. You have a contract to get the video done. But I'm just going to put it out there. If there's anybody out there in marketing that would like to donate their services to help get this off the ground, whether it be flyers or videos or just graphics and that graphic design work, I would highly encourage you to reach out to Tihara and Beyond Valor to donate your services and help them to accomplish this huge mission, because our children are everything. They're our future, and let's protect them and raise them upright and give them a good, solid foundation to become strong adults.
That'd be amazing. And they can find me on beyondvalor.org. We do have a website, even though it's under construction, the old one is still active. It does still kind of overall explain our mission, but we're going to have a very high quality website, we hope, in the next month or two, that more fully explains what we're doing. But beyondvalor.org, and my email is on that website, tiara@beyondvalor.org.
Awesome. And you'll drop all of that in the comments below when we get done with this Facebook Live so that they can reach out to you. And I'm sure that they can just reach out to you at that email. If somebody just wants to donate some money, I'm sure that if you reach out to her via email, they will take your donation so that they can accomplish this huge.
And our website does allow for donations as well. I should have mentioned that. Yes, there's a donate button on our website.
Awesome. Yes. So I so appreciate you coming on and sharing the mission of Beyond Valor today. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to share today about Beyond Valor?
I think that's probably the most active project we're on. We really are also on the demand piece. We're excited to say that we've been able to speak with our community leaders, the city attorney, and they have agreed to create a higher penalty for people who purchase sex. So now there's a mandated fine and a 10-week course. We're very excited that we'll be presenting that idea now to the Governor's Council so that it's something that's mandated statewide. Prior to that, there really wasn't much of a consequence, maybe sometimes probation, whereas the child or the prostitute would have to go to the DA's office and face criminal charges. There wasn't much going on for the person purchasing sex. So we're wanting to see increased penalties so that we can see that demand piece begin to shrink, because until we address demand, this is just a cycle that'll continue. So if you guys are also interested in advocacy work, we're looking at how we can change the laws to make it harder to purchase children, higher penalties, so there's real consequences, and hopefully keep our kids safer. So I hope to hear from somebody. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to talk about this mission on your show. I really appreciate it.
No worries. I greatly appreciate you being here, and I love being able to get the word out about what you are doing. Such a new nonprofit and such a huge mission that you're trying to accomplish, and I truly believe that you will accomplish it. We just need enough community support. So again, if you have a heart for children in that, please reach out to Beyond Valor and Tihara and see how you can help, whether it be financially or just donating time, research, whatever it might be, to help them out. That would be greatly appreciated. So thanks again for being on today. Thank you. If you are a veteran or the spouse of a veteran, or maybe you're a currently serving military member that has a business, I would love to interview you or potentially interview you on a Military Mondays. So you can go to militarymondays.info. So that's Military Mondays with an S.info. That's where you can watch past episodes, and you can also put your information in, your contact information in, so that I can reach out to you and maybe interview you on a future Military Mondays. So with that, again, thank you so much, Tihara, and I hope everybody has a fabulous week, and I will see you next Monday on Military Mondays. Bye, everyone.
Bye.